Here we go. All right, here we go. Seattle Sports Weekly. What is this? This is the 2026 version, and it is what, January 6th, so it's not too late to say Happy New Year to everybody and hope it was safe. And well, you found us, and we found you, and so that's all. It's all copacetic in a good way. So, any New Year's resolutions or that you have or didn't make, or I find a cool one. Uh, I'm always one of the things when I went to SU along with journalism was public relations. So I looked at advertising and everything else. So I'm always keenly aware of slogans and things like that. You know, y'all aware that just do it, do the right thing. Nike, if you will. Oh, I should have really just did a whole segment on this. And what other ones come to mind? Oh, BMW has a good one. Mercedes, Benz. Those are all like iconic brands, and then so their branding is a very plain and simple luxury machines, if you will. Um, Anyways, I was thinking of Planet Fitness. I know advertisement Planet Fitness, but they had a good one, a new one. They said finish strong, and that was the last week in December. And those are the ones that are kind of cool, right? Because everybody's going last week in December, New Year's resolution, fitness, and all those kinds of things, which are exactly. Um, I'll answer that Elijah Moyo question in Arroyo in just a moment. So, anyways, yeah, so it's finished strong. So I love it. I love. You know what? Let's try to do that in 2026. All y'all pop in and ask questions and see if I can answer so we can really have a live show that's interactive. Elijah Arroyo is on the injured reserve list, and I believe he is able to come off that. And I saw him in the locker room. So I remember he suffered a knee injury in week 14, and he was placed on the injured reserve list. So he's just trying to come back on that. And the Seahawks, he could be back. They would just have to take him off the injured reserve list, but to do that, they'd have to make a roster move on the 53-man roster. So that's the only thing that's pending. Now, if you remember, the Seahawks practice squad also, well, I remember Conrad Diggs is ready to come, to be elevated from the practice squad. So you can only make a certain amount of moves from injured reserve list to either the practice squad or the regular roster. Now, remember, if you take a player and you move him from the practice squad, um, and I mean from the injured reserves, you put him on the practice squad, and what they say is the ready roster. So ready to be put back in the mix, if you will. You have 3 weeks, I believe, to either put him on the normal roster or put him on waivers, because that's when so that they stop. It's a good move. They don't want teams, stashing players on the injured reserve list. This is interesting because Russell Wilson came out and said something about he was injured during the season, and now the NFL is investigating that. So roundabout way, I can't see what is the vibe in the facility after getting going to the bye week. Really good vibe, and so we've got some really cool things here. You're gonna hear from Corbin and I interviewed Corbin yesterday to redo that. That is to talk about the game and prognosis. And I've got Mike McDonald. I was, He had his weekly media press conference yesterday. So in that, I've got a 5 minute cut. The vibe, you know what? I'll get a better idea tomorrow. They just told us this is what's great. If you guys do the inner kind of exchange, we'll have a rocking show in 2026. So it's just yeah, this is public. So first of all, the Seahawks they'll practice tomorrow at 11:10 and Wednesday, yeah, 11:10. It originally was 10:55, so they moved it at 10 minutes back. So they'll practice Wednesday and Thursday. And to give you, man, I will, yeah. So 11:10 practice, and then at 12:50, selected players are available, and then they let us go in the locker room. So I'll be able to talk to some of the players, and same thing on Thursday. Check that Thursday. It's actually they moved it back. Practice is 11:40, and then selected players available. Open locker room. When they say selected players available, that means you'll see them on YouTube. All right. So when you turn in, I'm giving you a precursor. I don't know who's available, but they tell us they send us this, this email as media, and I think it's uh, this stuff I can tell you. Have a really good. I tell you, let's keep this going because one of the things that we've created is a real good relationship with the players. I'm never going to tell you any dirt. I can't, this is just not how it goes. I can tell you some of the good stories. I'll give you one right now. Byron Murphy's daughter is back from the hospital, and she was back for Christmas. And so, bet you all didn't know she was preemie. She was premature, born. So during November, December, Byron Murphy was going from practice to the hospital to be with his daughter and his wife at the hospital as she gained strength and everything else. So I talked to him about that the other day, and I had to apologize. I was like, man, you know what, Byron, I'm really sorry, that I hadn't asked you about this because Greg Bell, my other, was, he had talked about it. And Byron, man, I wish we can't interview locker rooms, but well, I can do audio. I'll do that. I can start giving you audio cuts from those interviews. And he was like, man, I thought everybody knew. I was like, nah. And we had a really long, long talk about, where he's at now and what he wants to do. And he talked about, hey, you know what? I'm here. I'm now. When I get done, he said, I want to be done in terms of the player. And we talked about this. Now, maybe I'll put this out there. Maybe you could think about who I'm talking about. A lot of players can't get away from the game when they're done. That is, when they're done, they somehow kind of want to relive their playing days. No, you're done. You can still engage yourself. Byron and I were talking. He said, you know what? Yeah, he said, you can still engage. You can be a coach or whatever. And he said, yeah, maybe coaching, but my kids, I'd like to, if my kids want to play sports, then I want to be there with them and kind of help them in that way. And he said, but I would be done, that he would be done. All right, let me see some of the questions there. I can't quite see the questions. What are the vibes? So and I'll ask the Kobe Bryant question. Is there? They are the vibe is these guys are just locked in. They're just focused from play to play. Sure, sounds corny. So I talked to Drake Thomas on Wednesday, last Wednesday before the game, and I said, Drake, tell me, if you go to cascadiasports.net, there's an article about integrity, and his quote is in there because Mike said that. And he said, look, we treat every game like that's the biggest game. The next game we play is the biggest game that's out there. And that's what he said. I was like, oh, okay. And he said, yeah. I said, well, come on, Drake, you just tell me Saturday. It's got to be a big game. He's like, no, it's just like any other game. We have to play our best, and we have to communicate. We have to read our cues, and we have to execute. Boom. Guy gets an interception off Christian McCaffrey. There you go. So, yeah, it's really, look, Mike McDonald, and you'll hear this, And D Money, yeah, what we'll do is after I answer the Kobe Bryant question, I'll go right to the Mike McDonald question because you'll 5 minute interview because it's really about this program, this process that he has. And I have a question there that I asked him about coming to life. He says that a lot, right? Ball finds energy, and he wants his players to play fast. He wants a defense where, because he says if you play fast and energy, the ball is going to find you. And you've seen that with DeMarcus Lawrence, two two fumbles, one for pick six. You saw that with Leonard Williams last year as well. So that and Devon Witherspoon. That's why Witherspoon got this all pro without having all the numbers, the energy that he brings and the how it impacts each play is, I mean, you can't quantify that, but it's such a big difference in terms of every play. And yeah, so their vibe is going, it is and will be, hey, you know what? Every play, every walkthrough, every practice. And y'all know, I'll have some content up there at my YouTube channel, just in terms of yeah, the practice. We'll get some B-roll tomorrow, so that's good. And then, of course, as I said, the some locker room interviews. As far as Kobe Bryant will be back because that's what Mike McDonald. That's what they're shooting for. They knew that if they could win this, get the week off, and then remember they play in 2 weeks, so Kobe Bryant will be back for the divisional round. Absolutely. And I talked to him last week, and I joked a little bit. I don't know if I could tell you that. Yeah, he was in the locker room and he was happy. So I'll leave it at that. And D Money, I don't know if I put that. Let me get that video up there for you, and then we will get to it. So, look, it's these guys are ready. I mean, they're having the right attitude. I think that it's going to take something to beat the Seahawks. Are they beatable? Sure, sure. They are, and any team's beatable now. I think it's going to be up to you all, the 12s, to do your thing. And I'm not so much of a cheerleader in terms of that. I'm an analyst, and there I uploaded the video. But if we take a look at the playoffs right now in terms of what's there, look, you hope for the Green Bay Packers to beat the Chicago Bears. So this weekend's games, you have the LA Rams against the Carolina Panthers, and then you've got the Bears against the Packers, and the Niners and the Eagles. The Seahawks off this week. We get that. So what happens is the Seahawks will play the lowest seeded team. Now, so there you go. If somehow the Rams should beat the Panthers, but wouldn't that be cool if they did? Because it'd be great to play the Panthers again. But remember, again, you've got to go with, yeah, there it is. Same one I got popped up here. My man. So there you go. So the Packers is 7, and the Bears, that's the one you want to watch because, I think the Seahawks, they favor up matchup against everybody. But if the Bears beat the Packers, then you come in here. Then the Packers are coming here. Now, same thing down there with the Niners and the Eagles. That's one you want to watch. I got to tell you, for me, I think the most intriguing matchup would be the Seahawks and the Eagles. They're the defending champion. If you look on the lower right here, so if the Eagles beat the Niners, which would be good, and then let's say the Bears beat the Packers, then that would mean the Eagles and the Bears play. And then that winner would come to Lumen Field. And that's of course that you're thinking that the Rams beat the Panthers. But if the Panthers beat the Rams, there you go. But either way, I think the Seahawks One of the two NFC West opponents is going to return to Lumen Field. That is either the Rams. See, as again, the Rams beat the Panthers, then that would mean the Seahawks would play the seeded number five on it seeded Rams. And again, the other side there, if it holds chalk, you would have 2 and 3. That is the Bears and the Eagles. But if you don't, and it goes away, let's say the Niners hit a hot streak. I'm not worried about the Niners. I just think Clint Kubiak has outcoached Shanahan. The two intriguing matchups there would be the Eagles and I think the Rams again. Those are the two teams. I mean, you would play them the fourth time. The Rams up here. Is that right? 1, 2. No, it'd be the third because you played them twice. So that would be the third time. That would be a very interesting game there, the Rams and the Seahawks, because the McVay and McDonald are a great matchup and X's and O's. They know how to attack each other's weaknesses there. So, all right. And I can't see another one. D-Money, what are the what's this about Charles Cross back to? Yes, Charles Cross is back after signing the contract, and you'll hear Mike McDonald talk about that in just a minute. Look, the Seahawks are healthy. Mike McDonald said after the game they incurred no injuries, which means everybody was good after the game. And now Charles Cross and Kobe Bryant are to return. So, D-Money, can we play the video that says McDonald January the 5th from yesterday? And this will kind of get our listeners and viewers to see what's going on and what Mike McDonald said.
Yeah, we the guys were in today really to put the game to bed, and then they'll be off tomorrow, and we'll have a good work day on Wednesday and Thursday, and then the players will have a few days off, and we'll be back rocking on Monday. So it's a little tricky because you don't know what day you're going to play, and you're not sure you're going to play, and not sure who you're going to play yet. So there's a balance of trying to stay ready, stay sharp, but also be able to take advantage of the opportunity we have to take care of our bodies and get as fresh as possible. A combination of some things we need to see, some ways we've been attacked, and then really just try to go out and play really great, clean Seahawk football, just executing and running our stuff and trying to stay sharp.
Masvita?
Hey, Mike, I've heard you mention we have the term come to life, and you mentioned it this morning. What are the elements needed for a program team to make it come to life and then be consistent in making it come to life?
Well, I think that's a trick is you got to be consistent. You can't change the goalposts. So it starts with a clear vision, and then getting people bought in to go that direction, and then as coaches, it's our job to steer the ship and make sure they're hitting those kind of daily standards to make it come to life. It really is. It's just a fact of it's coming from, words on a board, words on a screen, conversation, your imagination, and then what shows up on tape and on a daily basis.
Kind of a lighthearted one. This morning you said you don't want me making a playlist. So I was wondering if you were to make a playlist, what are some of the songs or groups that would be on there?
I'm on the country kick right now, and then I'm on a good bit of worship. There's some great worship music out there right now. So those are kind of the two go-tos. If you go to my daily mix on Spotify, I hit that button a lot, and it's a lot of gospel songs.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mike, you had a couple successful screens in the game. You kind of had the screens coming to life more kind of in general recently. What do you think's kind of allowed that to kind of come and start to pop and have success in that front for you guys?
See, screen game coming to life. There you go. What did it take? Well, we wanted to be better at it. Worked on it every day. Yeah, it's great. It's great. It's a really important part of our offense, and we called them at some good times. Clint did a great job of calling them, and the guys, execution, I feel like has really taken steps. It's kind of been like one thing or another throughout the course of the season, and I felt like we finally really been aligned on some of those plays. So it's great to get the screen game off the ground. Well, he's got such a great spirit to him, and great teammate. Just very unselfish, extremely hard worker, humble, confident, all those things. I mean, they come in all sorts of different personalities, and he's authentic to him, and I think his teammates really respect the heck out of him. He's been great for Gray since Gray walked in the door. That's what you see, and then just a great person, man. Just really is. I mean, I don't know if you've gotten to know him, but he's just a great person that we really respect, and turns out he's a great football player too.
Coach, out of all of the congratulatory messages that you got, is there one message or one conversation that stands out or means the most?
Probably, I mean, look, this is cheesy, but like just to go home to see, like Steph doesn't go on the away trip, so I gave her a hat and a T-shirt when we got home, and that was pretty great.
Okay.
Michael Sean?
Hey, Mike, with Jackson, there are a few times this year when we've asked you about him, you have referenced kind of his attitude in the offseason, kind of how he approached it, with the season that the regular season's over, the season he's had. How much do you think just want to on Jackson's part contributes to how he's able to produce the way he does?
Yeah, I'd say it plays a huge part. That's if you slice the pie, that's a big chunk. But that goes to like the daily inputs. Like you got to be committed to that process to do it every day. And he's a competitor. I think like he had this vision of who he thought he could be as a player, and he's just all he's done is just chase it. And so there's a lot of want to behind that.
And looking at, you've talked a lot about John and his vision for the roster and things like that. Because you were more involved, like being able to go to the Senior Bowl and all that stuff this last cycle, how much do you think being more involved contributed to you matching his vision? You know what I mean? Like you guys being aligned in how you wanted to build things this year.
Yeah. I think when we say like, I think we were aligned on how we wanted to build it from the beginning. I think just having the opportunity to have a full off season to work together is really just kind of more ways to connect. It's kind of like our players. Like, hey, look, you're going to come in the off season. If you're going to be here, get the best out of it, spend time with one another, get to know each other, get to know all the kind of the idiosyncrasies of things. I think it's the same thing with John and the personnel side and the coaching is just the more conversations we can have about more players, about more things we want to build, how we want our team to look. It's just things get ironed out inevitably, and it just becomes a lot like more streamlined, I think. And so that was probably the biggest benefit of being able to spend a lot of time together in the off season.
All right, there you go. I hope that was helpful. That's what we'll try to do because you get the inside stuff. All right, let me. I'm gonna read this just to go back in terms of this injury reserve, clean it up. So. The player placed on injured reserve after being on the 53-man roster, he has to sit out 4 games, for a minimum of 4 games. And then after that, they get this designation to return. And you saw that with Jalen Sundell. Team can designate up to 8 players to return from IR during the regular season. So once they're in this designated to return after the 4-game minimum, they have to be cleared to practice, and there's a 21-day clock that starts for the team to activate the player or place them on season-ending IR. So Torrey Horton was placed on season-ending IR last week, if I'm correct. If it's not, it's pending because there's just no way that Horton now has a spot because of Rashid Shaheed's play. That is obviously his special teams play. And then during the playoffs, the teams get 2 additional designated to return for the postseason. So that question about Elijah Arroyo, there you go. He could return. And I would say a player can be designated to return twice in the season, counting as the 2 returns. Potential players that could come back. We talked about Arroyo. Now, in terms of getting to the 53-man roster, Amari Knight was promoted from the practice squad to the active roster. Cody White was placed on the injured reserve. And, the team had waived DeAnthony Hall to make space. So that is always kind of this when you hear them talk about this roster and this the 73-man roster, what does that mean? Well, they're taking the 53 and then they're adding, right, the other 20. That is, what do you got? 15 on the practice squad, and then I think 5 on injured reserve. But you got another 20, and it's always a cat and mouse game in terms of how do you complete that roster. And so players injured, you take them off their 53-man roster. Do you move up somebody in the practice squad? And what the Seahawks do is you'll notice that a lot of the times, that's why Saturday, let's say if the game's Sunday, Saturday you hear, hey, the Seahawks have, or any NFL team has activated this player. Begin to watch that, because a lot of that gives you an idea of where they're low at. Let's say, let me go back to Amari Knight, right? So you were weak at tackle going to the Niners game, right? Because Charles Cross was out, and also Josh Jones, he was questionable. All right, so you had to take a look at that and go, all right, well, who's the next person up behind Charles Cross, Josh Jones? What's Amari Knight? Okay, he's on the practice squad. All right, let's move him up for the game just in case something happens to Josh Jones. And you saw what happened, right? Josh Jones came out for one play. Amari Knight stepped in, but it was only for one play. So that's why, it's all so connected in terms of the practice squad, the injury reserve, and who they move up. And, those are the things you don't necessarily have to worry about that. But, you follow, read Cascadia Sports, and watch the show here, RainierAvenueRadio.world. We will let you know some of those moves and the inner moves. And, you can kind of watch the other teams as well, just in terms of the moves they make. It'll tell you where the team feels that they are weak going into the game in terms of those roster moves. All right. So great stuff. We're going to go on break, and we will return, and I'll still play the Corbin interview on the other side, so you can have more content about the Seahawks. And why not? Seahawks on a roll. They are the number 1 seed in the NFC West. All right, so we're going to take a break, and we'll return on Seattle Sports Week.
This is Paul Pearson, host of Star Time. And when I'm not busy tearing the roof off the suckers, I'm listening to RainierAvenueRadio.world.
A new law is helping people save more money on prescription drug costs. You may also be able to save with Medicare's Extra Help program. Your premium cost can be zero and your out-of-pocket expenses are low. Who should apply? Single individuals earning less than $23,000 a year, or married couples earning less than $31,000 a year. Even if you don't think you qualify, you can still check out this program. Visit ssa.gov/extrahelp. Medicare costs are covered by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Join us this Tuesday on Real Estate and Money, brought to you by Rainier Avenue World. Tuesday at 2:30 in Seattle, or in Denver at 3:30. Join our hosts, Violetta Strash and Tina Lombard, as we bring to you all things current real estate and money.
Sediment cleanup of the lower Duwamish River has begun. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency and the members of the Lower Duwamish Waterway Group, which includes King County, the City of Seattle, and Boeing, have begun sediment cleanup of the Lower Duwamish Waterfall Superfund site. This important environmental project will address sediment pollution and help restore the health of the Duwamish River. Starting in the waterway's upper reach, construction activities extend from the south 102nd Street Bridge down straight to the Duwamish Waterway Park. Over the next 3 years, in-water activities will occur from October to February, ending in February 2027. Visit ldwg.org to learn about the upper reach cleanup and sign up for email updates.
Mga kaibigan, ito po si Kuya Bert Kawili.
And this is Miles Salvador from Australia.
And I'm Norb Kawili, also known as Norbcam.
Gusto niyo po ang latest news and events from the Philippines at the local Filipino community? Phil-Am Radio po.
We play Filipino music and interview guests from all around the world.
And I'll keep you updated on the latest Seahawks and sports news.
Kaya always tune in. Phil-Am Radio every Tuesday, 1 to 2:30 p.m. Pacific Time on RainierAvenueRadio.org.
And in YouTube and Facebook. Salamat po.
This winter, I don't want illness to get in the way of my holiday plans. That's why I got my annual flu and COVID shot. Everyone ages 6 months and older and get the flu and COVID shot each year. They make it less likely you'll get sick, and even if you do get infected, you won't get as sick. Free vaccines are available even if you don't have health insurance. For more information, visit kingcounty.gov/find-a-clinic. That's kingcounty.gov/find-a-clinic.
Rainier Avenue Radio, your community radio station will provide you with more information. Rainier Avenue Radio.
All right, we're back. Absolutely back. We are. This is RainierAvenueRadio.world. I'm Osvita Mara Ire, Seattle Sports Weekly. And shout out to all y'all listening to the YouTube channel. We're going to keep this going just in terms of the Seahawks. Why not? Right? Like, look, we're going to ride this wave all the way through. I do have to admit, it's funny how people will say Seattle's this town, that town, baseball town, and basketball town. Don't be no fool. Seattle is a football town from day one. I know the Seahawks, 1976, but this is a football town, and you all kind of are showing that. But let me read something here, because you got to read. So you want to make more community broadcasts like this possible? Donate right now on Venmo at Rainier Avenue Radio online at RainierAvenueRadio.world/donate through Shunpike. And we thank you for helping broadcast community voices, because that's the other thing. It's not only sports that we do, it is also community events and community topics and things like that. So there you go. Every dollar matters. And so again, all right. So I had a chance to sit down with one of my good buddies and a fellow kind of, CEO, founder. He's with Emerald City Spectrum. That is Corbin Smith. And he is, man, yeah, he's one guy that sits up there. He was a high school football coach. I was a high school football player, like in 1866, but he was more engaged in it than I was. But look, point is, here's the interview from yesterday with Corbin Smith. All right, excited to have Corbin Smith of the Emerald City Spectrum on. I practiced my lines, Coach. I got the city part done. How you doing? And welcome, Corbin.
I'm great, Maz. Thanks for having me as always.
Oh, yeah. No, just appreciate you, the knowledge that not only the listeners, but that I learned from. All right, just first impressions from yesterday's 13-3 win by the Seahawks over the Niners.
What a performance on defense, first and foremost. That, and I talked to a few of the players in the locker room about this. Nicky Manwari was all smiles when I was mentioning, like, This is a game that's stacked up there with the Legion of Boom days in terms of dominance. Just 47 passing yards for Brock Purdy in the first half. And this is a guy that had just been dicing teams up the last 4 or 5 weeks. And to go out there and just take away all of his options. A couple of times he tried to scramble away. They had guys ready for him. The game plan was simple, but it worked extremely well, and they just played fast. I think that was the difference that short week they had against the Rams where they gave up 500-plus yards of offense. Mike McDonald talked to us reporters about this, that he, in hindsight, felt like he tried to cram too much in for that short week. I think they approached this time around a lot differently, and they made sure what they had in the game plan was ready to go, that guys were confident, they were playing fast, and it showed in the field. And speaking of Nick Eamon-Warry, I mean, I just continue to be amazed by this kid. I don't know that there has been a player this year, whether free agency or in the draft, that has been a more exciting addition for a defense than what he has been. I mean, you can just tell how much fun Mike McDonald's having, moving this guy around, doing all the different things that they can do with him. He truly is a Terminator in terms of, you can just put him, he can play DN, he can play outside linebacker, inside linebacker, both safety positions, slot corner. I think they could play him outside corner if they wanted to. Other than nose tackle, you could pretty much play him wherever you want. And that just creates so much freedom for a defensive play caller. And just the way everybody was flying around, the tackling. Can't say enough about the defense on Saturday night. They were fantastic.
So, Corbin, what does it do to a quarterback when I don't know where 3 is and I don't know where 21 is coming from? What does that do to my tempo and just how the game is opening up for me? Clearly it's not. You know what I mean? What does that do?
We've seen a lot of talk about this lately from quarterbacks, because it used to be that you would have your pre-snap, you'd be reading what coverage that you had out there and trying to make those reads, or reading one side of the field versus the other. And now defenses have made it so dang hard to do that with their pre-snap disguising. And Mike McDonald can do whatever he wants in that regard because of the couple players that you mentioned there. And defenses, a lot of the time, the offense has advantages when it comes to dictating what's going to happen, dictating terms with personnel. The Seahawks don't have to do that, because let's say they're playing the Rams again, if the Rams want to go to a 3 tight end set, they just say, okay, Nick Eamon-Warry is going to go up and play in the box. We're going to use him as a linebacker. Or, they're going 4 wide. He can cover a guy that runs 4-4 in the slot. No worries. We'll put him in the slot. It makes it that the defense can dictate terms, because they don't have to make a bunch of mass substitutions to change their personnel groupings. They just move this alpha wherever the heck they want to. And Devin Witherspoon gives them a lot of flexibility in that regard. Not quite as versatile. We're not going to see Devin Witherspoon playing defensive end because he's not near as big, but it does make it, you don't have to do mass substitutions. You can stay with the players in the field and run a number of different personnel groupings and packages. There's just not many teams in the league, Maz, that have that kind of flexibility. And it really messes with the QB when you don't have the ability to mix and match things and be able to, I'm going to get this player off the field, or the coaching staff, we're going to get this guy off the field. You can't do that against the Seahawks defense.
All right, we're talking with Corbin Smith, Emerald City Spectrum, just revisiting from a tactical perspective the Seahawks win over the Niners. I'm going to give you a softball. How does Byron Murphy may contribute to this defense?
A lot of these players and fans are going to look at stats, and Byron Murphy's got a good stat line. He's got 7 sacks. He's got a bunch of pressures, over 50 of them this year. It's not like last year where you felt like he was impactful, but it wasn't showing up in the box score. We obviously have not seen that this year. But when you turn on the film and you watch this guy consistently wreck double teams, and I've asked Mike McDonald about this a couple times, because, look, I think a lot of times fans see him drop down to a knee and take on double teams, and they think, well, that looks fairly easy. there's a reason you don't see very many guys around the league that can do that, particularly 23-year-olds. That is a technique that takes a long time to master it, and you got to be extremely powerful to be able to do that. And this guy, he's built like a brick, so we know that he physically can do it, but that has made it so easy for the guys behind him because he's eating those double teams up. He's stalemating the line of scrimmage, and a lot of time he's splitting those blocks and then making tackles himself, but he's just keeping guys off of Ernest Jones and Drake Thomas, allowing those guys to go make plays. And then he's got his own plays to go with it. I voted for my all-pro teams today. And one of the things that was difficult for me was trying to pick between Leonard Williams and Byron Murphy, because I think they both, you can make an argument, have played at an all-pro level this season. I ended up picking Big Cat just because he's got a little bit more ammunition in terms of stats, and he's also a guy that players feed off of with the things that he does up front, even when he doesn't make plays. But I don't know that you can go wrong picking either one of those guys, and that tells you where Seattle's defensive line's at right now.
All right, one more on the D line there, and because we can't leave the D line without talking about D Law, if you will.
This guy, man, I could see where he gets the nickname Tank because he lays siege to the gridiron battlefield every single week. This guy, he does the dirty work as well as anybody. And another player, he's got 6 sacks. He's got 2 returns for touchdowns, almost 3 fumble returns for touchdowns this year. The punch out he had against Carolina, he does a lot of things that show up in the box score, but he's also one of those guys that his ability to set the edge, play physical football, dictate the tone at the line of scrimmage. He does all of those things exceptionally well, and it's really rubbed off. We saw it with Derek Hall coming off his 1-game suspension. How much Derek Hall has benefited just from being able to play next to this guy and seeing how he does things. And I think Derek Hall has a lot of very similar talents. I can see Derek Hall being a DeMarcus Lawrence type player that plays early or into his mid-30s at a high level because he's got a lot of those traits, but getting to watch him and learn from what he's doing while still playing a lot of snaps himself, he has just – I mentioned Eamon Warry with the impact he's had. DeMarcus Lawrence, as much off the field as on the field, has also been another one of those guys that has taken what would have probably been a top 5 defense and made them historically great. This was the best DVOA defense in Seahawks history. Not the Legion of Boom teams. It was this year's 2025 Seahawks that checked that box off.
Yeah, Derek Hall, he ended up 1 tackle, but he had the sack. And also, he had 3 quarterback hits in his return. So, all right, let's flip over to the other side of the ball there. What did you see yesterday? I know the run game, so I guess we can go there. But what is it about the run game that you liked?
I just think you're seeing an offensive line that is playing with much greater confidence, especially when it comes to their angles. I felt like that was an issue they had the first half of the season, but I want to give a shout out to the guy that's snapping the football because Jalen Sundell, when he went down, I believe it was the second Arizona game that he went down in the first quarter with that knee injury. Although Timmy played well in his place, he did a lot of good things. There were some people wondering if Timmy should just keep the job. And I was one of those analysts out there arguing, no, it's got to be Sundell because of his pass pro numbers. He's given up no sacks and 11 pressures this year, Maz. He has been fantastic protecting Sam Darnold. But what we've seen these last few games, that guy is becoming a really good run blocker right in front of our eyes. He was driving dudes off the ball, putting them on skates. He was getting to the second level. Gray Zabel was making pancake blocks. I thought Anthony Bradford had a really good game on Saturday night too. All 3 of those interior guys were getting after it in the run game. They're winning their battles with their angles. They're playing physically. And when they get their hands on guys, they are finishing them more times than not. And then you've got 2 running backs that are also, they bring different special sauce to the equation. They are a different style backs, but they both know how to create on their own. We saw that on Charbonnet's 27-yard touchdown, being able to bounce that run and then break the tackle 5 yards away from the end zone. One-on-one, you're not going to bring me down. Ken Walker III, when his reads are right, and he's done a better job of doing that consistently, had several runs in that game. Then in the press box, I thought he had a real chance to break for a long touchdown, and then he would get tripped up at 20 yards or 11 yards. But you're seeing his ability to create that I think it was 3rd and 17 that he got 19 yards on, and John Lynch was in the press or the sweet box just throwing a fit. Like, how could we give that up? Like that, a lot of that was Ken Walker, great blocking, but also he made a guy miss and then broke a tackle to get that yardage. So we're seeing the complete package there where your line's blocking better, more cohesively, and the running backs are playing with physicality. And they're angry, both these guys are.
Yeah, and here's a thought here. To me, I think Clint Kubiak and Mike McDonald gave each of them, like, okay, you're going to go in for this amount, and we're going to run those plays and these plays, inside zone, outside zone. But it seemed to me on Saturday, they were like, okay, you go in, you go in. So the defense really couldn't set their cleats on the ground because both of them were coming with rapid succession. I think that was a strategy. I don't know. What do you think about that? The fact that they both were playing consistently back to back. It wasn't, 10, 15 plays, then the other guy comes.
I mean, most of the year, that's how they've operated.
Mm-hmm.
And, there are some teams that like to go entire drives with a back and then rotate the other one in for the next series. Seattle's been a little different in that regard. And I think it's frustrated fans some, especially early in the year, and they were not running the football well. Like, why aren't we getting Ken Walker out there more? Or if Charbonnet's having a good game, why aren't we riding him more? And I think a lot of it has been about protecting both these guys. They wanted to have both of them healthy for the final stretch run and then getting into the postseason. And they are. Both these guys are 100%. They're ready to roll, and they're both running really well. They've each had 100-yard games. Both guys were flirting with 100-yard games in this matchup on Saturday night. So that was really more of a mesh where both guys were playing really well. And so I know fans are frustrated about that, but that strategy of how they've platooned guys in and out has worked really well when you consider where they're at now going into the postseason and the way this run game, it looks to be peaking at the perfect time.
All right. A few more minutes. I know. Thanks for staying on. But listen, so what's your outlook just in terms of moving forward? They're at home. What's your thoughts? These guys getting back to Santa Clara?
Got a really good chance to get it done, Maz. And there's a few things to worry about. You look at the turnover issues, although it seems like there were a couple games that have kind of made those numbers skewed more than what they really are. I think Sam Darnold has done a really nice job these past few weeks of taking care of the football better and still being aggressive when he needs to be and playing to his strengths. The running backs have done a good job. The defense is starting to create turnovers. So I think this team is in a good position, and sometimes you worry, is a bye week going to be an issue that's going to take them out of the flow? I don't think Mike McDonald's going to allow that to happen. I expect their couple practices they have this week that there's going to be some physicality in those practices. He is not going to be putting these guys in bubble wrap the entire time. I think he's going to have his players ready to rock and roll. Of course, everybody's going to be looking at the possibility of the Rams coming back to Lumen Field. They're the 5 seed. That is definitely a possibility that Seattle could be playing them. They could have a rematch with the 49ers at Lumen Field as the 6, the Packers as the 7. I wouldn't be shocked if Green Bay goes and wins in Carolina. In fact, I think Green Bay should be favored in that game. So in that case, the Seahawks will have the Packers coming to town. So they don't know who they're playing just yet, but the Rams, I think, would be the toughest rematch there of those teams. If they got Carolina, if all the home teams win this weekend, I think Seattle would be more than comfortable with having Carolina come into their house and a rematch there with Bryce Young and the Panthers. So, there's some matchups there that would be tougher than others, but I think this team, they've gotten things figured out at home. They've been playing better football at Lumen Field, and you better believe that the crowd is going to be jacked up to another level hosting a divisional round game. So they got to go out and get the job done. But I think fans should be optimistic that this team, when they get home field advantage, good things happen in Seahawks history.
They have. All right, Corbin. He is Corbin Smith, as I said, of Emerald City Spectrum. Thanks for hopping on and for your analysis. Appreciate you.
As always, Moss. Thanks, man.
All right, there you go. Corbin Smith, the interview there. And as I said, that's thanks for the engagement and that in terms of you all. And if there's any questions or, like I said, I practice. If there's something you want to know, you can also go put it up there on the YouTube site. You know what I mean? Because we're here once a week, but I'm up there daily. All right, suggestions are welcome. So there you go. Where was I going to go? We're going to wrap this up, but I wanted to give you kind of a preview of next season, because the schedule's out. Man, and what a schedule. So the 2026 schedule is out. And so, well, of course, they're going to play the three NFC West opponents. The Rams, the Cardinals, and the Niners. But home games, they've got the Cowboys, the Chiefs, the Patriots, the Chargers, and the Bears. Yeah, so those are all division winners. I mean, you know what? I ain't pushing for nothing. Well, yeah, I'm putting this in your mind. You know what? If you don't have season tickets or when it gets time, I know right now you're worried about the divisional and then the championship and then the Super Bowl tickets. So I know that's on your mind. Nicely done, D-Money. So that's what, but if you can't, I mean, stuff gets spendy. I'll be honest with you. I just looking at some hotels down there, and it's crazy. Right now for the Super Bowl, you would have to be you're about 30 miles out, unless, of course, you want to pay $800. You know what? You know what the okie doke is? This is what they do. So there's hotels there for $250 on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right? $250, which is still too rich for my blood. But then come Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, those hotels now cost $900 a night. So, anyways, I digress. Like I said, ride this wave, and how cool would it be? And then get your season tickets. I don't think there's a lineup anymore like they used to be in terms of getting season tickets. If not, anyways, let me just finish my thought in terms of next year. I mean, man, the Patriots come, division one. The Bears, they're number 2 seed, and then you've got the Chargers, and Patrick Mahomes should be back. So, wow. Away, of course, the 3 NFC West. It's going to be exciting next year and this year as well. But as far as the schedule, then you go into Mile High. Don't forget to stop off. They play the Raiders in Vegas, so that's always kind of a cool trip. And Philadelphia is a good one. I've made that trip. They actually stay downtown. The Seahawks do, and so you're right close to Freedom Park. Yeah, that's where the Liberty Bell and all those things are in walking distance. And then they go back to Washington, and that's always a good trip. And Carolina Panthers. So there you go. I don't know about making a trip to Carolina. I'm thinking, Jack. Yeah, there you go. All right. So that wraps up the Seahawk portion of it. Thank you all. We're going to go right to the UW. Only got a couple minutes here, Andrew. So I had to cut you short, but you know how it goes. We're riding the wave. Andrew Bailey, tell me what's going on with Hans Steiber.
He is doing some amazing things for the Husky basketball team. He's leading this team right now.
Okay. You want to tell us what he's doing? You're there. You're at practices. You're at the games. What are you seeing? I get it, but what are you seeing?
Back-to-back freshman of the week honors, averaging 18 points and 12 rebounds a game, getting double-doubles seems like every night. He's got 9 of them now after the Indiana game the other night, 20 points and 10 rebounds. Would like to see some other guys start contributing, picking things up. Zoom Diallo's starting to show what he can do. He's had 7 assists in each of the last 2 games, and he's really stepped up on the scoring front, while Wesley Yates has gone out with a hand injury. He was one of the key top scorers for the Huskies, and so now it's on Zoom Diallo to kind of be that guy to lead the guards along with Desmond Claude.
Hey, Andrew. So, Zoom was supposed to be the star of this team, right? And then like Hans came, he's a freshman, right?
Mm-hmm.
How is Zoom handling? You talked about he needs to step up, but how is he handling now? I don't want to play second fiddle, but be part of a combination duo that's important for this Husky team to win.
I believe he's taken to it well. He had a nice assist in that Utah game, throwing the ball up to Hannes Steinbach on an alley-oop finish there. So I think he loves what he's seen from Hannes Steinbach, and they need to feed Hannes more because, as Danny Sprinkle has been saying, we need more from him. I mean, even though he's given us 18 and 12 a game, we want more. So if they're going to do anything going forward, I think they need to keep getting him the ball as much as they can because this schedule is very tough right now. They have 4 teams on their schedule in the next 2 weeks that are ranked in the top 12. They play Purdue tomorrow night in West Lafayette at Purdue, and then they come home, play Ohio State Sunday, and then next week they'll play Michigan, who's number 2 in the country, on Wednesday. That'll be a huge opponent, and then they play Michigan State that Saturday. So lots of tough games up ahead for the Huskies, and they need as much as they can get out of not just Zoom Diallo and Hannes, but they need to really pick things up, particularly on the three-point shooting. They've been struggling. They have 15 of their last 72 from beyond the arc, and so as a team, they need to start shooting the ball a little bit better from the outside. They've been working it really well inside with Hannes Steinbach and getting scores inside, but they got to find a way to kind of balance out the scoring a little bit here so that way they can get a little bit of an inside-outside game going.
Yeah, Purdue's ranked number 5. And then what is are the Huskies a three-point shooting team?
No, they've been more of a team that works the ball in the paint. They rank right now 272nd, I believe, in three-point percentage, and they don't attempt they only shoot about 23s per game. And so, when they played Indiana, they just couldn't keep up with them. They had this high-paced, high-tempo, shoot the ball really early in the shot clock, and Indiana, outscored them 36-18 at the three-point line. Indiana had 12 three-pointers, and UW made 6. So on that front, they gotta figure out, how can they get more shots to go in from downtown, because they're getting the looks, they're just not going in.
Well, you mentioned it, so they need to take more attempts?
Not necessarily more attempts. They just need the attempts to go in because they're getting, as Danny Sprinkle says, good looks.
Well, okay, and Coach Steve, but yeah, they sure need to go in. Yeah, thanks, Sprinkle. Appreciate that. But basketball. Are these guys three-point shooters? Because sometimes we know that, the 3 is okay. It's part of the game. You need that. Mm-hmm. But do they need to add somebody on the roster to make them a three-point shooting team?
Well, losing Wesley Yates was a big one because he was giving him at least 2 3-pointers a game. He's their second leading three-point shooter on the squad behind Kamari Peterson. So him being out definitely has kind of, I think, changed their dynamic of how they're running their offense. They were trying to get it more inside. That's what they did in the second half against Indiana. They were trying to get to the foul line, get the ball in the paint, and that worked for them. They were able to outscore Indiana 40-38 in that second half. I think if they'd have started those things earlier, they might have been able to find a way to win that game. But, they tried to run with Indiana in that first half, and that just did not work out well for them. They were outscored 52-40 in that first half, so kind of put themselves in a hole. And so, they just got to figure out a way to figure out what they're going to do to find their identity on offense here going forward.
All right. Great stuff, Andrew Bailey. You can find his content, CascadiaSports.net. We are out of time. D-Money, thank you. And a thank you to Corbin Smith and all y'all that were listening. Seattle Sports Weekly, we out.